Okay, we are here to bring you the most significant research and news for creating your most beautiful, healthy life. And today we're going to do another one from the, this is again from the Endocrine Society's 100th meeting, their annual meeting in Chicago. This was released on March 20th, 2018. And the title was High Energy Breakfast Promotes Weight Loss, Helps Reduce Total Daily Insulin Dose for Type 2 Diabetics. It was performed, this was through the Tel Aviv University School of Medicine. It was supported by the Ministry of Health in Israel. And the lead author was Daniela Jakubowicz, medical doctor. And just, we're always bringing the most significant research and news to affect your life. And that's what it's all about. And this is going to go completely against the grain. In fact, it really should be titled completely different, which I'll go into in a second. I just want to give a disclaimer that the information provided on this program is for educational purposes only. Statements made have not been evaluated by the FDA. By providing this information, we're not diagnosing, treating, curing, mitigating, or preventing any type of disease or medical condition. This is not intended as a substitute for professional advice of any kind. Before beginning any type of natural, integrative, or conventional treatment regime, it's advisable to seek the advice of a licensed healthcare professional. Okay, so let's just take a look at this title again. High Energy Breakfast Promotes Weight Loss, Helps Reduce Total Daily Insulin Dose for Type 2 Diabetics. And let me just explain what this means. So when they're talking about a high energy breakfast, it just means that a big breakfast. And so here's what they were comparing. They were comparing the regimen for meals that is recommended for almost all diabetics. And here's what is recommended: to take your calories, divide it evenly throughout the day, and have 6 small meals throughout the day. And the thought process has always been the same. We want to take this and have the same insulin response, the same glucose response. So we don't want to vary it much. We want to make the meals as frequent as possible and as small as possible. And so what they did in this study was they said, okay, and just think, and this was what happens so often. Someone you come up with that makes sense. Okay, if I don't want to spike my insulin levels, I don't want to spike my blood sugar levels, and I don't want them to drop either. I want to keep them the same. So if I want to keep them the same, how am I going to do this? Well, I'm going to have tons of small meals throughout the day. And what do I tell you all the time? One of the biggest things is that if you want to stay leptin sensitive, you can't snack. In fact, you're way better off with just 3 meals than you are multiple meals. You're way better off to have your meals and space them out than to have them snacks between. When you have snacks between, you allow the body to become leptin resistant. And by the way, leptin resistance occurs, they're saying about 7 years before insulin resistance occurs. Okay, so what they did in this study, they compared the 6 even meals to 3 meals, but they made breakfast the largest meal, your lunch the next biggest meal, and then a real small dinner. And so and what they found was that when they did the meals like that the people had better weight loss, they had better glucose control, they needed less insulin, and they were actually able to heal the body. And this is what their statement was. This Dr. Jakubowicz stated that the hour of the day when you eat and how frequently you eat is more important than what you eat and how many calories you eat. And she stated that our body metabolism changes throughout the day. And the thing about this was that they had the same number of calories in both the 3 meals and the 6 meals. It was just how they spread them out. And and just so you know, what they did was these people were randomly selected. The average age of the participants, I believe, was 69 years old, so they were a little bit older, and they tested their blood glucose every 2 weeks, and then during that period of time, they would adjust their insulin however they needed. And so at the end of 3 months, here's what they found, that the group that had 3 meals per day, they lost 11 pounds. The group that had 6 meals per day, they actually gained 3 pounds. And it gets crazier than this, because they found out that the fasting glucose levels decreased about 54 points, 54 milligrams per deciliter. They went from 161 to 107 in the 3-meal group, and they only decreased by 23 points in the 6-meal group. But they found out, like, overall glucose levels within the first 14 days, before these people even had weight loss, they were getting tremendous responses in the 3-meal group. And they said it wasn't because of the weight loss, it was because of the timing of the meals. It was because of the way the biochemistry was. And in fact, the overall mean glucose levels, they dropped by 9 points, and they dropped 9 points in the first 14 days and 17 points afterwards in the 6-meal group. But in the 3-meal group, I mean, in the first 14 days, it was down 29 points. In the next, and after that, it went down another 38. I mean, so it was significant. And then they looked at it as during sleep. So during the night, where was the glucose levels? And what they found out was that the 3-meal group decreased 24 points, but the 6-meal group didn't change at all. It never went down. And in fact, this is despite the fact, and listen to this. See, it was going down like this, and all these numbers were improving with the 3-meal group. But not only were the numbers improving, it wasn't improving with the same amount of insulin. The amount of insulin decreased, because the 3-meal group, they went down 20.5 units. So they started on average at 54.7 units and went to 34.8. The 6-meal group actually needed more insulin. They needed 2.2 units more. So during this 3-month period of time, while the 3-meal group, diet group, went down, and it went down significantly. I mean, you're looking at from 54.7 to 34.8. You're looking at 20 points, but that 20 points, that's like 40%, really, when you take a look at that. So they went down 40%, and the other group actually had to raise their insulin during that period of time. And the people who had only 3 meals a day, what they found out was that their hunger decreased significantly compared to the other group. Their carbohydrate craving decreased. And in the other group, it actually increased. And so what they found out was that just overall glycemia and just measuring this and following this was much better on the 3-meal group than in the 6-meal group. And one of the things is, as long as you're as long as you are snacking, you are breaking that metabolism. You're breaking that biochemistry. And the big thing is regaining leptin sensitivity. And the funny thing is that they don't have the real specifics on what they were actually eating, because I can tell you this: if you're eating a large protein meal for your first meal of the day, you are helping your leptin sensitivity dramatically, just dramatically. Just having those areas of that fasting, that region of fasting, helps set that biochemistry. And I think that they would even have done better if they chose to have the largest meal for breakfast. I would have made make your breakfast a protein, make your largest meal of the day your lunch, and the smallest by far is your dinner. And make sure it's an early dinner, because the closer you get towards your increase in melatonin is going to have a dramatic effect on that. And so again, we've talked about this so many times that it's not the calories. These people had the exact same amount of calories. And in fact, this just goes to show you how you can think one way because it just seemed to make sense. And you talk to people who are diabetics, and they'll say, but I have to have my meal. I have to have I have to have 6 meals a day. I have to have my snack because I have to keep that blood sugar levels constant. And I always say that you don't, and not only do you not have to, that you're going to do worse if you do. But the research here clearly states this. But more important than that is that when they were doing the 6 meals without any difference in calories, just think of this. After the 3 months, they needed more insulin. In other words, their condition was getting worse. The group that was eating 3 meals per day, they needed 40% less insulin. And so what that means is that is starting to respond. It's healing. It's you're getting away from that. You're becoming more leptin sensitive instead of leptin resistant. And and this is one of the things that we need to realize, that just because we've done something, it's always been done this way. And we'll have people come in and they'll say, my doctor says this. And how many doctors right now for diabetes are recommending these 6 small meals per day? And I can tell you this, it's almost all of them. And when people even come into our program for NutriMost, we tell them that you're not going to do that. Literally, so many freak out, and then they even want to talk to their doctor, and the doctor says, you need these meals. You don't need those. If you need to at the very beginning, you can take like a small segment of an orange, and have that for a constant some blood glucose at the very beginning. But you need to get away from that. And this study clearly shows it, and it's all about your biochemistry. It's all about balancing your biochemistry, becoming more leptin sensitive, becoming more insulin sensitive, becoming more FGF21 sensitive. Because when you're not, and we're going to get into another thing with that, with insulin as well, and just on an upcoming program with this, we know that the old rules are being broken. And it's being broken in a way that we can actually heal the body, not adapt to the body. Let's work with healing the body. But I thought this was a very good study, and we'll see how it's perceived within the profession, how long it takes. What's interesting is when research comes out, the medical community is usually so far behind with actually getting it out and across the board. Every once in a while you'll have something that'll sweep a little bit faster, but we'll see what happens with this. And again, and this is where it is. This is the Endocrine Society. High energy breakfast promotes weight loss, helps reduce total daily insulin dose for type 2 diabetics. And as I said, that name I think is it's not that it was the high energy breakfast. It was that there was 3 meals versus 6 meals. And the 6 meals allowed for leptin resistance, insulin resistance, and as you decrease that allows for insulin sensitivity. And I believe as well leptin sensitivity, that was not checked for on this. And they basically are just showing the effects it had on weight, the effect it had on cravings, on hunger, the effect that it also had on the amount of insulin needed, and what the blood glucose levels were. So again, this is the most significant research and news for creating your most beautiful, healthy life. And I think that this is really going to show that the things that we've been talking about for so long, we've been so far ahead of the game. I've been talking about this, and I'm really glad to see this out. And again, this information provided is for educational purposes only. Statements have not been evaluated by the FDA, but these we're taking this directly from the this is the endocrinology meeting, the Endocrine Society in Chicago. Again, high energy breakfast promotes weight loss, helps reduce total daily insulin dose for type 2 diabetics. Let's try to heal these instead of just dealing with this, and do the things that are necessary and take those actions that, we know that some of the foods that we should eat and shouldn't eat. Let's even take that more in a personalized way, which is what we do with NutriMost Intelligence Analysis and NutriMost. And it's all about creating your most beautiful, healthy life. Let's continue to do that. I promise I will do the same.